It still makes my blood boil when I think about that day. Imagine waking up one morning, walking outside, and seeing that your car, the one you worked years for, is gone. Vanished. But what made it worse wasn't the theft. It was when my own insurance company looked me in the eye and said, "Sorry, sir, it looks like your keys were used in this incident. We can't help you." How would you feel if someone robbed you and the people who were supposed to protect you accused you instead? Because that's exactly what happened to me. That morning started like any other Tuesday. I was already late for work, juggling my coffee, my phone, and the keys in my hand. I remember locking the door, walking down the driveway, and then freezing. My car wasn't there. At first, I thought I parked it on the side street the night before. Maybe I was too tired and forgot. But after 10 minutes of pacing around, that sinking realization hit me hard. Someone had stolen my car. My heart was pounding as I called 911. The dispatcher's calm voice didn't match my panic. "Sir, we'll send a patrol unit. Stay where you are." When the officer arrived, he asked the usual questions. "Any idea who might have taken it?" "No," I said, still shaking. "I locked it, I always do. The keys are right here." He looked at them, nodded slowly, and jotted something down. Later that day, I called my insurance company, confident they'd help. I mean, that's what I've paid them for every month, right? The lady on the phone sounded sympathetic at first. "Oh my, I'm so sorry to hear that, sir. Don't worry, we'll get this sorted out." She took all the details and said an investigator would contact me soon. But then came the twist. A few days later, I got a call from their claims adjuster, a man named Dennis. His tone wasn't friendly. "Mr. Malik," he said, "we've completed our initial investigation. There are some inconsistencies." I frowned. "What do you mean inconsistencies?" "Well," he said, "there are no signs of forced entry. The vehicle appears to have been unlocked and started with the original key. That raises some questions." My jaw literally dropped. "Are you saying I stole my own car?" "I'm not saying that, sir," he replied coldly, "but we can't confirm theft if your own keys were used. It might be a case of negligence." Negligence? I felt my blood pressure spike. "Dennis, I locked that car myself." "The keys were in my kitchen drawer. Someone must have gotten in." He sighed. "Well, unless there's evidence of a break-in or tampering, our hands are tied. The claim may be denied." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I hung up and just sat there, staring at my phone, feeling this mix of anger and helplessness. Days turned into weeks. The police couldn't find the car. The insurance company sent me letter after letter, each one colder than the last. Claim denied due to policy breach. Owner's keys were used in incident. It didn't make sense. Who could have gotten my keys? Then one night, while I was sitting on the couch replaying everything, something hit me. 2 weeks before the theft, a friend, or at least someone I thought was a friend, named Ryan came over. He'd asked to borrow a ladder from my garage. I remember leaving him alone for a few minutes while I went inside to grab something. My keys had been hanging right there on the hook near the kitchen door. Could it be? The thought made me sick. Ryan had been acting weird lately, avoiding my calls and posting pictures online with cash and fancy clothes, stuff he definitely couldn't afford. I decided to confront him. When I showed up at his apartment, he looked shocked to see me. "Dude, what's up?" he said nervously. "You tell me," I shot back. "My car's gone. Insurance says my keys were used. You were in my house, Ryan." His eyes darted away. "Whoa, bro, don't accuse me of stuff. I didn't touch your car." "Then how the hell did someone get my keys?" I demanded. He shrugged, fake calm. "Maybe you lost them. People forget things." But I could tell by his voice he was lying. That night, I called the detective handling my case and told him about Ryan. He said he'd look into it. A week later, I got a call that made my heart race. They'd found my car, but it wasn't the relief I expected. The detective said, "We recovered it about 20 miles out. It's been stripped for parts." I asked, "Did you find anything inside?" He hesitated. "Just some personal items that don't belong to you and fingerprints." I held my breath. "Whose fingerprints?" He said. "We're still running them, but if you're right about your friend, this could get interesting." And just like that, the tide started to turn. But what came next was the real fight. Because even after the police found the thief, my insurance company still refused to pay. They said, "Our decision stands. You were responsible for your keys." That's when I decided if they wanted a fight, they were going to get one. I hired a lawyer. And what we uncovered next not only exposed the thief, but revealed something much darker about the insurance company itself. What would you do if your own insurance blamed you for being robbed? Would you let it go or fight back like I did? Comment below, because this is where things start to get real. When I decided to fight back, I didn't know what kind of storm I was walking into. But one thing I did know, I wasn't going to be treated like a criminal for being a victim. My lawyer's name was Sarah Patel, sharp, calm, and terrifying in the courtroom. The first time I met her, she leaned back in her chair, arms crossed, and said, "Insurance companies pull this kind of stunt all the time. They use the key clause loophole to deny claims, even when it's absurd." "So what can we do?" I asked. She smiled slightly. "We find proof they acted in bad faith. If we can show they ignored evidence or twisted the facts, we can sue them for damages, not just your car." Her confidence gave me hope. For the first time in months, I felt like maybe I wasn't crazy for wanting justice. We started digging. Sarah subpoenaed the insurance company's internal communications related to my case. She also requested the police report, the fingerprint analysis, and the surveillance footage from the gas station where my car was last seen. A few days later, the detective called. "Mr. Malik," he said, "we got the fingerprint results back." I held my breath. "They match your friend Ryan." My stomach dropped. I knew it. I knew he had something to do with it. The detective continued. "We brought him in for questioning. He cracked pretty fast. Said he borrowed your spare key when you weren't looking, claimed he just needed quick cash. He sold the car to a local chop shop." I asked. "So he admitted it?" "Yeah, we're charging him with grand theft auto." I couldn't even describe the mix of relief and rage that hit me. The guy I once trusted stole from me, and the insurance company, they refused to believe me even when I told them something was off. Sarah was thrilled. "This changes everything," she said. "We'll use this to prove your innocence and their negligence." But when she reached out to the insurance company's lawyer, they refused to budge. Their reply was cold and robotic. "Our decision stands. The theft occurred using the insured's keys. Liability remains with the policyholder." It felt like I was fighting two enemies, the thief and the system. Sarah leaned forward across her desk. "Then we take them to court." A few weeks later, we were standing inside a small courtroom downtown. The walls were plain, but the tension in the air was heavy. The insurance company sent their top legal rep, a man named Greg Turner. He looked smug, like this was just another day of crushing people's hopes. When the judge entered, everyone stood. The hearing began. Greg started first. "Your Honor, the facts are simple. The claimant's vehicle was stolen using his own keys. There is no evidence of forced entry, therefore this does not qualify as a covered theft under his policy." Sarah stood next, her tone calm but sharp. "Your Honor, the insurance company is deliberately ignoring police evidence. The thief was identified, arrested, and confessed to stealing Mr. Malik's keys without his knowledge. That is theft. And their refusal to honor his claim is bad faith." Greg smirked. "Confession or not, the policy terms are clear. If the keys were used, the responsibility," Sarah interrupted, "stops being relevant once theft is proven. You can't twist words to deny justice." The judge raised a hand. "Let's hear the evidence." That's when Sarah played the police interview footage, Ryan sitting in the interrogation room, admitting he took my keys, that he sold the car, and that I knew nothing about it. The courtroom went silent. Greg shifted uncomfortably, flipping through his papers like he could rewrite reality. Then Sarah dropped the real bombshell. "Your Honor, we also have internal emails from the insurance company showing they knew about the confession but decided to proceed with the denial anyway. They wrote, and I quote, 'Even if the friend confesses, we maintain denial to avoid precedent.'" The judge looked stunned. "Is that accurate, Mr. Turner?" Greg's face went pale. "We'd have to verify the authenticity of those emails." Sarah cut in again. "They came directly from their claim department, verified by metadata. They intentionally denied a legitimate claim to protect profits." You could feel the shift in the room. The smugness disappeared. For the first time, I saw Greg's jaw tighten, the look of someone realizing they might actually lose. The judge leaned back. "This is serious misconduct. I'm ordering a formal review of this company's claim handling process." Sarah glanced at me and whispered, "We've got them." Outside the courthouse, reporters were waiting. Word had already spread that a small homeowner was taking on a major insurance company. One of them asked, "Mr. Malik, what made you fight back?" I said, "Because people like us pay for protection, not excuses. And if they can deny me this easily, they can deny anyone." That clip later went viral on local news. Comments poured in, "Good for him. Insurance companies think they're untouchable." "This happened to my brother too. They always blame the customer." It felt empowering, but we still hadn't won yet. The trial wasn't over, it was just beginning. The next week, the company doubled down. They filed a counterclaim accusing me of negligence and policy fraud. It was absurd. They were trying to paint me as careless for trusting the wrong person. When Sarah told me, I felt defeated. "They're trying to scare you," she said. "They always do this before they settle, but we'll fight it, trust me." That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying everything: Ryan's betrayal, the insurance company's arrogance, my lawyer's determination. And somewhere between anger and exhaustion, I realized something important. This wasn't just about my car anymore. It was about standing up to people who think they can crush you because they have power and paperwork. So when the next court date came, I walked in with my head held high. And none of us knew that the next testimony, from someone inside the insurance company itself, would change everything. What would you do if you found out the people who were supposed to protect you were hiding the truth? Would you give up or keep fighting like I did? Comment below, because in part 3, the real secret finally comes out. I thought I'd seen everything: betrayal, lies, manipulation, but nothing prepared me for what happened next. Because just when I thought the insurance company couldn't sink any lower, someone from the inside decided they'd had enough. It started with a simple email. I was sitting in my car outside the courthouse, exhausted after another long hearing. Sarah was inside making copies of some documents. I refreshed my inbox, half on autopilot, when I saw its subject. "I need to tell you the truth about your case." It was from an anonymous Gmail address. I hesitated before opening it. The message was short but chilling. "I work for the company that denied your claim. I can't stay silent anymore. They knew your claim was valid, but management ordered the denial to protect quarterly numbers. I have proof." I froze. For a moment, I didn't even breathe. When Sarah came back, I handed her my phone. She read it twice, then looked at me with that fierce look she gets when she smells blood. "If this is real," she said quietly, "we just got our smoking gun." A few days later, we met the whistleblower in person. Her name was Emily. Mid-30s, nervous, clutching a folder like it was her lifeline. We met at a small cafe far from downtown, the kind of place where no one would look twice. "I don't have much time," she whispered, eyes darting around. "If my boss finds out, I'm finished." Sarah nodded reassuringly. "We'll keep you anonymous, but we need to know exactly what happened." Emily slid the folder across the table. Inside were internal memos, email chains, and meeting notes, all stamped with the company's logo. She took a deep breath. "When your claim came in, the adjuster marked it as legitimate theft. He even wrote that the keys were stolen, not misplaced. But when it reached upper management, they changed it. There's a directive: minimize payouts in theft cases involving owner keys. They didn't even read your police report." I stared at her, trying to process what I was hearing. "So they denied it on purpose," she nodded. "Yes, they do it all the time. They call it a key case freeze. It's their way to cut losses without getting sued. Most people just give up." Sarah leaned forward. "Do you have proof this directive exists?" Emily smiled sadly and tapped the folder. "Page 5. Sarah opened it and scanned the document, her eyes widened. "Oh my God, they actually wrote this down," I whispered. "They ruined my life over a spreadsheet." Emily's voice cracked. "You're not the only one. I've seen single mothers, elderly clients, even small business owners get denied the same way." That's why I couldn't stay silent anymore. I looked at her, this woman risking her job, maybe her career, to do the right thing, and felt something shift inside me. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about justice for everyone they'd done this to. A week later, Sarah filed a motion to introduce Emily's testimony and documents as new evidence. The courtroom was packed that day: reporters, other victims, even a few former employees. When Emily took the stand, she looked terrified but steady. Sarah began softly. "Ms. Green, can you tell the court what you do for the insurance company?" "I was a claims analyst," she said. "My job was to review theft claims before final approval." "And did you review Mr. Malik's claim?" "Yes, it was marked legitimate by the initial adjuster." "But was it approved?" Emily looked at Greg, the company's lawyer, and then at the judge. "No, management overruled it. They ordered us to deny all claims that could be linked to the owner's keys, regardless of evidence." You could have heard a pin drop in that courtroom. Greg jumped to his feet. "Objection, hearsay," but the judge waved him down. "Overruled, continue." Sarah handed Emily one of the memos. "Is this the document you're referring to?" "Yes," Emily said, voice trembling. "That's the internal directive. I printed it before I resigned." Greg's face turned red. He whispered something to his assistant, clearly panicking. Sarah pressed on. "Ms. Green, were you aware that Mr. Malik's case involved an arrest and confession?" "Yes, the company knew. We had the police report 2 weeks before the denial letter was sent." "So they ignored it?" "Yes." The room erupted in murmurs. Even the judge looked disgusted. He turned to Greg. "Mr. Turner, is your client prepared to explain this?" Greg adjusted his tie, voice trembling for the first time. "Your Honor, this witness is violating company confidentiality," the judge snapped. "Confidentiality doesn't protect fraud, counselor." Sarah turned to me, whispering, "They're done. They just don't know it yet." That night, I couldn't sleep again, but this time it wasn't from anxiety. It was something else. Hope. I scrolled through the news. My case was everywhere now. Headlines like "Whistleblower exposes insurance scam" and "Denied claims may lead to lawsuit avalanche." My phone buzzed nonstop, messages from strangers, thanking me for fighting back. "My dad went through the same thing. You're giving people hope. They did this to me last year. Maybe now I can reopen my case." It was surreal. I never wanted fame. I just wanted fairness. But seeing people rally behind me, it meant everything. Then came the message that froze me again, a blocked number, text only. "You think you've won. You have no idea who you're dealing with." I showed it to Sarah the next morning. She frowned. "They're trying to intimidate you. Classic corporate scare tactic, don't respond." But I couldn't shake the unease. If they were willing to break the law to protect profits, what else could they do? A few days later, Sarah got an anonymous tip that made everything spiral again. Someone inside the company had been paid off to destroy certain files before the court subpoena. If that was true, then this wasn't just corruption. It was crime. And in the next hearing, the truth about that bribe and who authorized it would come crashing down in front of everyone. What would you do if the people threatening you were the same ones supposed to protect you? Would you back off or stand your ground until justice is served? Because in Part 4, things are about to explode in the courtroom and someone's going to jail. When I got back home that night, I could barely sleep. The anger was gone. Now it was just exhaustion. It had been weeks since the theft, and I still had no car, no payout, and no peace of mind. My whole life felt like it was on pause, all because some insurance company decided my keys were the reason my car vanished. But the next morning, everything changed. Around 8:30 a.m., I got a call from Officer Daniels. "Mr. Malik, I think we found something you'll want to see," he said. "Is it my car?" I asked immediately. "Not exactly," he replied, "but it's related." He asked me to meet him at a small auto repair garage on the outskirts of town. When I arrived, my heart nearly stopped. There was a car that looked exactly like mine, except the license plate was different and the rear bumper had been painted over. Daniels looked at me. "You see this?" he said, pointing at the engine block. "Yeah, that's mine. Those are the same scratches I left when I replaced the radiator." "Exactly," Daniels said. "We ran the VIN. It's your vehicle stripped and repainted." Someone tried to disguise it. I felt a rush of adrenaline and disbelief. My car wasn't gone. It was stolen, altered, and dumped for resale. The mechanic who called it in said he got suspicious because a guy had dropped it off claiming it was his cousin's car. The guy had disappeared when asked for proof of ownership. Daniels continued, "We've sent the prints to the lab. We'll see who touched this car. If we get a match, this could blow the case wide open." I thanked him again and again, but deep down I was boiling. The insurance company had practically called me a liar, said I lost my car or gave my keys away, and here it was, proof it was stolen. That night, I emailed the insurance adjuster, Ms. Reynolds, attaching the police report update and photos of my car being recovered. I wrote, "Please see the attached evidence. My car has been located by police with VIN confirmed. I expect immediate reconsideration of my claim." No reply. 2 days passed. Then I got an automated email my claim had been closed permanently due to policy violation. That's when I lost it. I called Ms. Reynolds directly. She answered after a long silence. "Mr. Malik, as I mentioned before, the investigation concluded that the keys—" "Stop saying that," I snapped. "You've seen the evidence. The car was stripped and resold. You think I did that myself?" "Sir, please lower your voice." "No, I won't. You destroyed my life for a false assumption. And now the police are proving you wrong. I'm done talking to you, my lawyer will." Then I hung up. I spent the next day reaching out to a consumer rights lawyer named Linda Carter who specialized in insurance disputes. When I explained the situation, she didn't even hesitate. "They're stalling," she said. "They probably know they're wrong but don't want to pay the full claim. We'll demand internal records, emails, investigation notes, the lot." Linda filed a formal demand letter the same week, giving them 7 days to respond or face a lawsuit. And right when I thought things were finally turning around, Officer Daniels called again, this time with an unexpected twist. "Mr. Malik, we got a match on one of the prints from the car." "Whose is it?" "You might want to sit down for this. It belongs to an employee from your insurance company." I froze. What? That can't be. It is. A claims investigator. The same division that handled your case. My brain went blank. Was it a coincidence? Or had someone inside the company staged the theft to avoid paying claims? Or worse, make me look guilty? Daniels said he'd need a few days to confirm everything before making an arrest, but the implication was already haunting me. That night, I sat at my desk staring at the insurance company's denial letter. The same company that had blamed me might have been involved in the theft itself. And just when I thought nothing could surprise me anymore, Linda called. "Subhan, you're not going to believe this," she said. "We just got access to an internal email chain. One of their investigators mentioned you were an easy mark because you didn't have a garage camera. They were planning to dismiss your claim before the police report even came in." My chest tightened. My hands shook. They had written me off before I even had a chance. "We're going to court," I said quietly. "Damn right we are," Linda replied. "And when we're done, they'll wish they never messed with you. What would you do if an insurance company tried to cover up your claim like this? Would you fight back or let it go? Comment below, because in my case, this was far from over. As it turned out, someone inside the company had more to lose than I realized, and soon their secret would come crashing down. I didn't sleep at all that night. My mind kept circling back to what Officer Daniels and my lawyer, Linda, had told me, that one of the fingerprints found inside my stolen car belonged to someone working for the insurance company itself. It didn't even make sense. Why would an employee get involved in something like this? What did they gain from stealing a client's car and denying his claim? By morning, I was exhausted but full of fire. I called Linda. "We need to go public," I said. "Not yet," she warned. "If we move too fast, they'll cover their tracks. We need proof, emails, phone records, something connecting that employee to the theft." Linda was right, so we started digging deeper. She submitted a subpoena request for the company's internal communications related to my claim. In the meantime, Officer Daniels was working on identifying the suspect who had dropped my car off at the repair shop. A few days later, he called again. "Mr. Malik, the guy who brought in your car, his name's Bradley Hins. He's got a record for insurance fraud. You might want to sit down for this. He used to work for your insurance company too, until last year." My stomach dropped. This couldn't be coincidence. "You're telling me a former employee with a fraud record somehow ended up with my stolen car?" "Exactly. And he's connected to the same department that denied your claim," Daniels said. "Looks like someone inside might have tipped him off." That's when everything clicked. Someone inside the company was working with Bradley, staging thefts, denying claims, and possibly splitting payouts from cars sold for parts. My case wasn't an accident, it was part of a bigger scam. Linda was furious when she heard. "We're not just filing a lawsuit anymore," she said. "We're going for a criminal complaint. This could bring the whole operation down." The next day, Linda and I walked into the police station to meet Daniels and his team. They'd already started an investigation into possible insurance fraud and racketeering. Daniels showed me a few photos from surveillance footage near the repair shop. My jaw clenched. There, in the corner of one frame, was a man I recognized. Mark Geller, one of the senior investigators who handled my claim. He was standing right next to Bradley. I remembered his voice vividly from our first call. "We've reviewed everything, Mr. Malik. It's clearly key misuse." Now he was caught on tape with the guy who stole my car. Linda leaned in and whispered, "We've got them." The next week was chaos. Linda filed a civil lawsuit for bad faith denial and emotional distress, while Daniels worked on securing a warrant for Mark's arrest. We stayed quiet publicly, no press, no leaks, until Mark tried to call me. It was around 9 p.m. when my phone buzzed with an unknown number. I answered out of instinct. "Subhan, it's Mark." "Listen, we need to talk." "You've got a lot of nerve calling me," I said coldly. "You don't understand. I didn't mean for this to go this far. They made me do it." "Who's they? If I talk, I lose everything. Please don't push this." "You already took everything from me, Mark. My car, my peace, my name. I'm not stopping until the truth comes out." He sighed shakily. "You're going to regret this." And then he hung up. I just sat there staring at the phone, a chill crawling up my spine. Regret this? Was that a threat? Or a warning? The next morning, Linda called. "You're not going to believe this," she said. "Mark Geller didn't show up to work today. The company says he's on leave." Daniels can't reach him either. Mark had vanished. For days, no one could find him, not at his apartment, not with his family, not even his coworkers. It was like he'd disappeared overnight. That's when the police raided Bradley's house. Inside, they found fake license plates, VIN-altering tools, and a laptop filled with internal claim data from the insurance company, hundreds of files with client names and addresses. Bradley was arrested on the spot. Under questioning, he cracked fast. "Mark brought me in," he said. "He said there were people who'd never fight back, easy money. I'd take the cars, strip them, he'd file the denial, and we'd split it. But that guy Malik, he wouldn't drop it. He's the reason this is falling apart." When Daniels told me that, I didn't know whether to feel proud or terrified. "You did the right thing, Mr. Malik," he said. "But we're not done. We think there's more people involved, maybe higher up." Linda called later that night. "Subhan, I've got court dates lined up. We're going to expose all of this, not just for you, but for every person they've scammed." I couldn't believe how deep it all went. What started as a simple car theft had unraveled into a web of lies, corruption, and greed inside a company that was supposed to protect people like me. As I looked out the window that night, the city lights flickering, I realized something. This wasn't just my fight anymore. It was justice for everyone they'd wronged. But I still had one question gnawing at me. Where was Mark? Because if what Bradley said was true, Mark wasn't acting alone. There was someone else behind him, someone powerful enough to make him disappear. And soon, I was going to find out exactly who. What would you do if you discovered your insurance company was part of a criminal ring? Would you stay quiet or expose them no matter the cost? Comment below. I'm curious how far you'd go for justice. When I woke up the next morning, I had 20 missed calls. Most were from Linda and Officer Daniels. My heart raced as I called Linda first. "Subhan," she said, voice tight with urgency. "They found him. Mark." "Yes, but not how we hoped. He was hiding out in a motel near Hamilton. The police raided the place this morning." "Is he alive?" "Barely. He tried to run, but they caught him. He's in custody now, and you're not going to believe what he said." I felt my pulse hammering. "Tell me." "He claims he was working under orders from a senior executive, someone named Richard Lane, the regional claims director." I knew that name. Richard Lane was one of those polished corporate types who appeared in every insurance commercial, smiling, shaking hands, pretending to protect families. "You're telling me he was behind this?" I asked. "That's what Mark says. Apparently, Richard orchestrated an internal scheme, targeting certain clients they could frame for fraud. It made the company look tough on scammers, while they quietly pocketed claim money and salvaged stolen cars." My stomach turned. So this wasn't just corruption, it was a business model. "And you were one of their test cases," Linda said. "You didn't have cameras, your claim fit their pattern, they thought you'd fold." I sat in silence for a few moments. The anger inside me started boiling again, but now it wasn't just about revenge, it was about justice. That afternoon, I drove down to the police station where Mark was being held. Officer Daniels met me outside. "He's asking to speak with you," Daniels said. "He says he wants to make it right." I hesitated. "You think it's safe? He's in cuffs and surrounded by cops, Malik, but if you want closure, now's your chance." Inside the small interrogation room, Mark looked like a shell of the smug investigator I'd once spoken to. His hair was messy, his eyes red. He didn't even look up at first. "Why?" I asked, sitting across from him. "Why me? You knew I was innocent." He exhaled, trembling. "Because you fit the profile." Single, average car, no garage cameras, no legal rep on file. Easy target. Richard picked the names, I just followed orders. "You followed orders to destroy people's lives." I didn't know how deep it was. At first, it was just denial manipulation. Then they started paying off guys like Bradley to make the thefts real. He finally looked up, guilt flooding his face. "Richard kept everything buried. He said if we played along, we'd get bonuses and promotions. But if we talked, what?" I asked quietly. He'd make sure we disappeared too. A chill ran through me. Daniels leaned forward. "Do you have proof?" "Emails, recorded calls, hidden in my laptop at the office, but you'll need a warrant to get them before Richard wipes it." Daniels stood up immediately and left to make the call. I turned to Mark again. "You realize what you did can't be undone, right?" "I know, I'll testify, just tell them I tried to fix it." I didn't respond. I couldn't. Later that evening, the warrant came through. Officers raided the insurance company's headquarters, seizing hard drives, phones, and boxes of confidential files. Employees watched in shock as police escorted Richard Lane out in handcuffs. It was all over the news that night. "Insurance fraud ring exposed. Senior executive arrested in car theft scam." I watched the coverage from my living room, half in disbelief. The same man who'd signed my denial letter was now being shoved into a police cruiser, trying to cover his face from the cameras. But the real bombshell came during the press conference. Officer Daniels revealed that over 47 clients had been targeted in similar schemes, all denied claims using the same excuse: key misuse. Linda called me right after. "You started this, Subhen," she said, her voice proud. "Your persistence exposed them all. You just saved dozens of innocent people." For the first time in months, I felt something I hadn't felt since this all began: relief. But it didn't last long. 2 nights later, I got an unmarked envelope slipped under my apartment door. Inside was a single sheet of paper with a printed message. "You think it's over, it's not." No signature, no return address, just those chilling words. I immediately called Linda. "Someone just threatened me," I said, holding my breath. "Don't panic, it's probably someone scared about the fallout. I'll notify the police and we'll get you temporary protection." Officer Daniels came over that night. "Stay calm, Malik," he said. "We'll have a patrol watch your place for a few days. Richard's behind bars, but he's not the only one with something to lose." I nodded, but deep down, I knew this wasn't over. If someone was desperate enough to threaten me even after arrests were made, there had to be another player in the shadows. Someone higher up, maybe corporate, maybe even from another insurer or dealership network. Because as Linda later told me in a hushed voice over the phone, the files they seized, some of them were encrypted with another company's codes. This web is bigger than we thought. And in that moment, I realized something chilling. My stolen car was never the real story. It was just the beginning of uncovering a nationwide scam. What would you do if you discovered your stolen car led to a national-level fraud? Would you risk everything to expose it, or walk away before it gets dangerous? Let me know in the comments. It had been 6 long months since that first cold night when I realized my car was gone. 6 months of endless phone calls, lawyer meetings, court appearances, and sleepless nights wondering if I had pushed too far. But that morning, standing outside the courthouse with reporters gathering around, I finally felt something close to peace, because today was the final hearing. The one that would decide everything. Inside, the courtroom was buzzing. On one side sat Richard Lane, the former insurance director who had once smiled on TV commercials talking about trust and protection. Now he looked small, pale, fidgeting, avoiding my eyes. His high-priced lawyers shuffled papers nervously. On the other side sat Linda Carter, calm and confident as ever, and me, the man they had called a liar, a fraud, and an easy mark. The judge entered. Everyone rose. The air was thick with tension. As testimony began, the prosecution played one final piece of evidence that sealed everything: an audio file from Mark Geller's laptop. Richard's voice: "If the VIN gets traced back, we'll call it key misuse. Deny the claim, bury the report. Simple." Mark: "And if the client fights it?" Richard: "Then we make it ugly for them. No one wants to spend years fighting an insurance company." The room went silent. The judge's eyebrows raised slightly. That was the nail in the coffin. Linda leaned over and whispered, "That's it, he's done." Richard didn't look up once. His hands trembled as the audio played. Then came the verdict. "The court finds the defendant, Richard Lane, guilty of insurance fraud, conspiracy, and racketeering. Sentenced to 8 years in federal prison and restitution to affected clients." The words echoed in my head. 8 years. Restitution. It was over. I exhaled slowly, not out of happiness, but out of release. For months, I'd carried this fight alone. Now justice had finally spoken. After court, Linda and I stood on the courthouse steps as reporters swarmed. "Mr. Malik, how does it feel to win?" one asked. "It's not about winning," I said quietly. "It's about proving that one person's voice can still matter, even when a corporation tries to silence it." The story exploded across the media for weeks. Dozens of other victims came forward. The company rebranded, executives resigned, and millions were refunded to wronged customers. And me? I finally got my payout, not just for the stolen car, but for damages and emotional suffering. It wasn't just money, it was validation. Proof that I hadn't been crazy to keep fighting. Still, part of me couldn't shake the feeling that it wasn't completely over. Late one night, months later, I got a message request on Facebook. The profile was new, no photo, no friends, just one message. "You should thank Mark, he saved your life." I froze. Was it a threat? A warning? Or something else? I never found out. The account disappeared hours later. But something told me there was more to the story, that maybe, somewhere up the chain, there were still people untouched, still hiding behind lawyers and boardrooms. And yet, I wasn't afraid anymore. Because I'd learned something through all of this. Corruption thrives in silence, and all it takes is one person refusing to stay quiet to bring it down. That night, I sat on my balcony, the city lights reflecting off my new car parked below, one I'd bought with my settlement money. Not as fancy as the last one, but it was mine, and no one could take that from me again. I turned my phone on, scrolled through the hundreds of comments on my story, messages from strangers who'd been scammed, cheated, or silenced. People saying they finally had the courage to fight back. And that's when I smiled for real, for the first time in months. Because maybe this wasn't just my story anymore. Maybe it was a reminder that justice, no matter how long it takes, always finds its way home. Would you have fought back like I did? I said softly, thinking aloud for the camera as I recorded the final clip of my story. Or would you have walked away? Let me know below, because sometimes the only thing scarier than corruption is what happens when you finally expose it. As I hit upload, I looked out at the night sky, feeling the quiet satisfaction that only truth can bring. The kind that doesn't shout, it settles. And somewhere behind prison bars, I hoped Richard Lane was hearing my words echo through a TV screen, realizing the same truth he had once tried to bury. In the end, he took my car. But I took his empire. Speech balloon, where are you watching from? And if something like this ever happened to you, would you fight back or let karma do the work? Let's talk in the comments.